My name is George Seeley Jr., and I'm a World War II veteran. I wanted to see the ocean. I hadn't seen it. Lived in southwest Pennsylvania, and I decided to join the Navy. And that's what I did. They sent me to Great Lakes to boot camp. That was late in the war. It was in 45 when I was only 17, so they gave me what they called a minority cruise. That meant until I was 21. I could get out when I was 21, which I did. I felt lucky because I was getting food regular. Because I grew up as a kid in the Depression, and I stood in line to get food at times. I remember getting cans of beans and cans of vegetables of all kinds, and they were just in a white can that said peas and beans, and it had a white label. I remember that. So anytime I would get food, and I loved to get it at the end of the line where they had cases of raw vegetables, and I'd fill my pockets going back to the barracks. They put us through different tests on stuff. I remember I had black and white shoes, and I had gabardine pants and a kind of a silk shirt, all dressed up fancy, and one guy come along and says, "Anybody here know how to drive a truck?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been driving trucks since I was 15. He says, "Well, come with me." Took me out back to the scullery and gave me a wheelbarrow. He said, "There, did you learn anything?" And I said, "Yes, just don't volunteer for anything." That I remembered all through. Don't volunteer for anything. And at the end of it, they come along, wanted to send me to parachute school. And I said, what do you mean parachute school? And they said, we want you to fix your parachute and jump out of airplanes. And I says, I've never been up in an airplane, and you want me to jump out of one? I says, no way. They says, well, we're going to send you to that school, and we'll be sending you to different schools. Well, I says, what else am I qualified for? And they said, you aced Morse code. So I says, well, send me to that school, and if you can't do that, why, just put me on a ship someplace and send me off. Well, when the list come out, they said, we're going to send you to Morse school, which they did in Bainbridge, Maryland. I had to laugh. They taught me to type in 2 months, 60 words a minute. Gave me a typewriter with no numbers, no letters, no anything. Give me some code coming over and a little bit of music in the background to give me a little rhythm to it. So in 2 months, I was typing like a pro. I did so well there that they sent me to the second school, which was cryptology. It's not just plain Morse code. That we was checking on different places and different countries and different stuff like that, and we was getting into their business. So I had to go all clear through that, and my parents got upset because they sent the FBI and everybody else back home to check up on me, see if I was okay. Well, anyway, I guess I got through. We were never at a big facility. We always had a little tiny radio shack, a little mess hall. And we were just kind of a small unit always. And there was always just a few of us. And that's how I lost my hearing in my left ear, because I'd put my earphone on here, and on this side I'd keep it only half on, so that you could talk to the chief and other people in there. We didn't have any officers in the radio shack. It was the highest officers we had were chiefs. So I didn't want us around other people. And that's why I haven't got a picture. I look for a picture, but I don't have a picture. And I remember the posters. It used to be at the post office, and Uncle Sam pointing a finger at you saying, "Loose lips sink ships." Then they was going to send us to Recife, Brazil. So I sent all my blues home. I thought, boy, it's going to be nice and warm down there. I'll wear whites. Well, 2 days before we were to ship out, they sent us, "No, you're going to Adak, Alaska." Anyway, off we went. So I spent some time up in Adak. That was in 45. Was glad that it was over and that people stopped shooting at each other. And I always said, well, I was lucky. I didn't shoot at anybody and nobody shot at me. So I felt lucky for what little time that I was there. I learned to drink coffee in the Navy. I never drank coffee before. And I always used sugar and cream in my coffee. Well, when I got up there, come to find out they was buying milk from a goat farmer. And they was using goat milk up there. Well, that's when I learned to drink it black, because I didn't like goat milk in my coffee. Anyway, I spent up there, and then they said, "Where do you want to go the next session?" I said, "Well, how about Recife, Brazil?" "Okay, you can put in for that." So where the hell did I end up? Here in Winter Harbor, Maine, where it was cold. I never did get to a warm climate. I finished up my term in the Navy at Winter Harbor. I ended up at second class petty officer. And they called me a CT, and I think for cryptology is why they called us CTs. Down at Winter Harbor, when they had the big town fire at Bar Harbor, that was in 1947, and we got a commendation for protecting this side because we were on alert all the time, watching for fires. And but the town of Bar Harbor, they finally had to get the people down to the dock and get them off in boats because the fire it was burning the buildings and everything along there. The wind was blowing, and they had quite a catastrophe down there with that fire in 47, and we was kind of on alert over on this side of the water to make sure that a fire didn't start over here. So they give us some kind of a commendation in the Navy for it, but it was just being especially alert and checking different places and making sure the public and everybody knew that fires was a problem and take care of it. And I got out in 48. I was 21 in 48. And that's when I met my wife. There was a dance down at Franklin Roads. There was a big dance hall down there. Every Saturday night they had a dance. And we was going by there, and we told the bus driver, "It looks like they're having fun in there. Let's stop and wait and see what's going on." Well, that's where I met my wife. There was 5 girls sitting on a bench there, and I went in, I looked at the middle one. She looked kind of cute. And so I said, how about a dance? So that's where I met my wife, at that dance. She was a telephone operator here. She was 94 when I lost her. They'd asked me how long we'd been married, and I'd say 72 years. Seems like 100. She'd get pissed off at me. Well, I did some painting for a while to get going, and then I got a job as a meat salesman on the road. There was a freezing plant down here, just down the street. And then I had a chance down at the Chevrolet garage. Just to have a job meant something. So I was into a lot of sports. I refereed basketball over 50 years, and I did softball, baseball, and soccer. So I never had time to go hunting or fishing. I was into sports all year long, chasing kids around. I was thinking about my flag yesterday. I got a pole, and I take it in the winter. I don't want it to get all iced up and everything. And I was thinking, where is my flag? Because it's getting ready for good weather to put out. But I always fly one. I always fly one. And when they sing Star Spangled Banner at these sporting events, I still get a little tear. Honest to God, I do.